Can you just show me your hand if you've ever been in a maze? Wow. So most people, maybe 70% of the audience have been in a maze. Well, look at the green dot in the corner. Imagine you're there and you're in some kind of education program or system. Maybe you're at university. Maybe you're training. Maybe you've got an internship. But your vision really is to get to the red dot. What is that red dot? Well, that red dot is a career of your choice in a sector that you enjoy, that you're interested in. And I think above all, a job that is meaningful, or a business that you start that is meaningful to you. I think if we think about some of the really successful people who've gone from university or education over to employment, actually not many of them started thinking, I just want to be rich. Some of them did, but it was usually those people that didn't make it. Usually the people with a real passion, like Microsoft and Google, starting in garages. Yeah? Think about that. So I want you to think about your journey from education through to employment. Now, there's one thing that we definitely know about employment in the 21st century. It's unstable. It moves. Companies go to different countries to outsource their goods and services. And that means that you have to be very dynamic, and you have to really think about your journey through that maze. Can you remember being maybe 4 or 5 years old and your teacher or your mum and dad said, so what do you want to be? Yeah. Now, put your hand up again if you ever said, I want to be an astronaut. Oh, wow, we've got at least 15 astronauts in the room. Now, my next question is, are any of you astronauts? No. I'm sorry. Well, that's kind of a dream that we have as a child. Wonderful song from a UK singer. And there's a line in it, and it goes, while we're living, the dreams we have as children fade away. Now, I know we all experience that to some extent. Things don't always work out the way we want them to. But I think a way to view this is if we're trying to go from education into employment, we have to realize our own limitations. I just want to tell you about my brother. Well, he's 2 meters and 10 centimeters tall. And he's my younger brother, which is a bit embarrassing for me because I'm not as tall as him. Because he's so tall, he's found it very, very difficult to do something that's very simple in my country, and that's learn to drive. Because all the cars are too small for him, and he's having to learn to drive in a truck. Now, he can't change his height. He can't cut his legs off or become shorter, so he has to accept that limitation. But there are advantages to that too. He gets a huge amount of respect, especially to Vietnam, for being so tall. Think about yourself in your education setting. There are some you are simply not very good at, and you have to work really hard to be better at. There are actually very few that you can't make better. And I think that's proven by people who do remarkable things with remarkable constraints. How many of you remember the guy that visited Vietnam last year, Nick Vucic? I hope I say his name right. And this man has no arms and legs, yet has achieved incredible things. But even he, I'm sure, would say that there are some things that he couldn't do or that he's not good at. But he can do remarkable things despite his limitations. So I'm asking you, if you are over there, you're in education at the moment, and you want to be in the circle, which is where employment is and jobs are, maybe jobs you create, maybe jobs you do for other people, don't lose your dream, but maybe accept that you might not become an astronaut. it seems to me that somebody here still wants to be. Keep going. It might happen. So I'm trying to suggest mold your dreams and let them be flexible and work to your strengths. Give yourself room to grow. Because what's happening now is Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam is part of a global market. Just in the last few months, I've met people from companies from Denmark, Spain, Sweden, Norway, Brazil. All over the country, all over the world, people are actually coming here, and they're coming here because of the diversity, the good standard level of education, and the talent, because it exists here in Hanoi. And those companies are coming in, and also Vietnamese companies are innovating. The small private companies are innovating. So the journey from education through that maze we saw at the beginning is quite interesting and quite difficult. Let's look at the handshake. How many of you have shaken a hand today? Please put your hand up if you've shaken somebody's hand this morning. Now that's interesting. Well, I'm English, and we don't really feel very comfortable unless we know somebody having a hug. Or unless we really want to hug them, in case we might like it. We like to shake hands, and that's a formal way of introducing. But in Vietnam, with my Vietnamese friends, I've noticed that there isn't so much a formality with the introduction. I was speaking to one of the other speakers earlier, and I was saying, how do we actually greet each other in Vietnam? And I worked out that often we nod. Chào anh. Chào chị, chào, chào. And we sort of keep a distance. So I understand that reserve because the British are like that. And so are the Vietnamese. It's a shared habit. Americans, on the other hand, any Americans here? Lovely people. Hey, how are you? Good to meet you. They find meeting people so easy, don't they? What a skill to be so naturally friendly. Well, put yourself in one situation now. I'm going to imagine that you are all people who want to make that journey from university or training into a job. Now, imagine you're in that situation. And you're at home, on your iPad, or on your laptop, typing away, and you spot an opportunity. You're a marketing student, and you think, right, I've got to get a job in marketing. I've got to do it. My parents are breathing down my neck. They've spent all this money on my education, and I've been studying English for years. I've just got to do it. You're not really sure how to get there. I'm going to give you 3 very, very simple tips that I think can help. And I think they can help in the context of Hanoi and the context of Vietnam. There you are on your computer. You find a conference. It's on, for example, Giang Vo Street, you know, the conference center. And it's a marketing trade fair. Marketers are going to be there. All the big companies are going to be there. Trying to get business from other people, from each other. And you're sat in your pajamas, drinking tea or coffee on your laptop. And you think, well, actually, I want to work for one of those companies. Well, I think the first thing that perhaps needs to happen is for you to move into your area of discomfort. Haven't we just heard about that? Getting uncomfortable. Now, one of the hardest things to do, and this is step 1, is to go to an event where we don't know anybody, where we know we've got less experience than everyone else there, and when we're not really sure what will happen. Well, my recommendation, and this has worked for me and it's worked for people I know, and I think it's helpful, go to that event on Giang Vo Street. Turn up and do 2 things. Talk to strangers. Meet them and find out why they're there. Don't go and ask for a job. Don't go and say, I'm looking for a job in this area. Go and speak to people. Go and ask them, Is the trade conference useful for you? Did you find any new marketing partners? Was it helpful meeting people? Because what we see at the moment is new companies coming in, as I've mentioned, to Vietnam, and new opportunities for talented young people like yourselves. But you have to make them aware of you without just simply asking for work or sending a CV. So go and speak and talk and ask questions. Maybe you want a business card and you see someone and you think, oh, I recognize that person. They're over there. They look very important. You know VIPs have a VIP look, don't they? And you think, oh, how am I going to approach them? And you know you need to get their information. But you don't want to go over like this. You know, you want to go over and you want to get something from them. So try this. Don't go and ask for their business card. Maybe you can ask them, it was really interesting, the event today. How can I find out more about your project? Is there any way I can have a tour? Or find out more about your company and work out more about what you do? Go in from a different angle. Go in from an educational perspective. Because the relationship between and the employee is also changing. You are not just staff. As many of my Vietnamese friends, my staffs. Yeah? You're not just staff. You are part and can be part of these new companies and of innovative Vietnamese companies that are changing the way they work. Because I think Vietnam has definitely got the potential to rival and to bust what we see happening in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. There's the passion here, definitely. Now you've got the business card, and you're feeling really, really pleased with yourself because you managed to speak to the VIP. Well, what a lot of people do in this situation is after the event, they go and have some coffee with their friends, and they say, oh, it was great, I learned so much, I met all these important people. And then they go back to school or their internship or their work, and they don't follow it up. There's your opportunity to make a connection with somebody in your sector. And that's something you can do so that you can move from the education area. You can move from being an inexperienced trainee or intern by making connections with people that you previously felt were inaccessible. It is a maze. It is definitely a maze. I probably speak to maybe 50 or 60 people between the age of 16 and 35 each week, sometimes more, sometimes less. And in my capacity as somebody who has to try and give them something to take away that's useful, the first thing I ask them is, so what are you studying? Finance. That's the first answer. Next student comes in. So what are you studying, Ming? Oh, teacher, I'm studying economics. Oh, finance, economics. Next student comes in. Tao Ang, hello, nice to meet you. Hello. Yeah, what are you studying now? Oh, economics. Oh, heard that one before. Next day, a few more come in. Oh, it's Fung Ang. Hello, Fung Ang. Yes, nice to meet you, Fung Ang. What are you studying now, Fung Ang? Finance. Oh, what a surprise. Well, it is a surprise to me, and it's something I was so shocked by. After being here about 3 years, I realized that probably 80% of the young people I meet are studying 3 subjects. Right now, let's try it. Put your hand up if you studied finance or economics, and put your hand up proudly. I will say oi zoi oi at this moment. I think I've proved my point somewhat. Remember that with all these new companies coming in to Vietnam, and with all these interesting projects going on, NGOs, private companies, global multinationals, small startups, tech startups, you are in an opportunity to connect with all kinds of sectors. Okay? Now, when you're thinking about your journey from education through to employment, even if you are stuck with an economics degree. I wish I was stuck with an economics degree. I'm not. Even if you're stuck with it, you can always change direction. So, remember these things about your market. Remember it's unstable, it's changing, and that work will change. Perhaps just have in mind previous generation working habit. My father's generation, and I think it's the same for a lot of people in Vietnam. Did your parents work for one company most of their lives? Yeah? Did they perhaps have mainly only 3 different jobs during that time? A junior job, a middling job, and then maybe when they retired, the top job. Yeah? That's changing. And that's changing globally. And you're now part of a mobile, talented, intelligent workforce that spans the whole world. And don't be shy to use a handshake like that with a stranger. I wish you a lot of luck and good fortune navigating the maze, and try to network in a way that takes you to new opportunities that you didn't previously think existed. Thank you for listening.